Well, all right, here we are back at the bench. Another day of honing. We're in the middle of October. And what do we have out here? Well, doesn't really speak to the video. These are just some stones I had out, and I wanted to throw this video together quickly. So I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time, arranging stuff or whatever. Not that I ever really do. I don't script anything, but, sometimes I get a stone out or whatever. So, here we have Lily White Washita that I recently rescued. Very difficult label removal and replacement. Not 100% perfect. This is an end label. Now it's on the bottom. The bottom used to be the top because there's a chip. Didn't want to deal with it, so whatever. And this is a Canadian Novaculite. So I guess these two are harbingers of videos to come, because I did a video on these two and some others, so that's coming. Things are in editing right now. And I've done a bunch of ARC videos that are being edited too, and, stuff like that. Anyway, so the question today, the concept, like, what is this video about, Keith? Why are you not getting anywhere with what you're talking about? People ask me all the time. They email me all the time, message me through Etsy, through my website. How do I take care of my stones? Valid question. You go out, you drop some coin, or maybe you just, spent some money on something that's nice, or you have a fully functional type of stone that, may not have cost a lot of money, but you want to take care of it. No matter what, it's your property. You rely on these tools to work for you. You got to take care of them. You got to maintain them. Just today I was reading on Facebook, somebody was blaming a cast iron manufacturer because their barbecue rusted. They actually claimed that the cast iron was defective. The only thing defective is the person that bought the cast iron thinking you could just cook the hell out of it and leave it out in the rain and it was going to be fine. The only reason I brought that up is, maintenance isn't spoken of today. In today's world, things are really disposable all the time. So, I was brought up to, when I cleaned my boots, I cleaned them with a toothbrush. I went into every crevice with conditioners and waxes and all types of shit to make sure that my shoes and my boots, whatever, lasted forever. Every week I polished my shoes. It was a thing. Today, people wear sneakers. They throw them out when they look like a little dingy. Life is different. All right, so you go out and you get yourself a Jnat, and it's like, all right, now what the hell do I do with it? All right, the first, I'll start at the beginning. All right, and I'll try and keep it simple, and it's not going to be just Jnats, okay? I'm going to touch base on synths and other stones too. But since the majority of what I deal with on Etsy is Jnats, I figured I would start out that way. So the first thing is to lap it. All right, well, for me, the first thing is to seal it with cashew lacquer. All right, I seal every Jnat, super hard or soft or whatever. I seal them. Why? Why do I do that? Because these stones are predominantly sedimentary in nature still. They haven't gone through enough lithification, diagenesis, the whole process of mud turning into stone. So there are still often layers, right? Those layers, each line presents a place for water to get in. If that happens enough, the water gets in, it dries out, it stays in there, it creeps through the stone, whatever, it can weaken, it can degrade the stone. Yes, it can happen. Yes, it has happened. Is sealing every stone overkill? Probably, but who the hell cares? I'm not saying you got to do it. I'm saying I do it, okay? You'll notice that all the stones I sell just about are sealed, because I just don't want to hear it later on, and I think it makes for a nice package for a stone to go out the door that way. All right, so yes, this stone is going to be on sale eventually. I don't know if I'm ready to let it go yet. No, really, this is like an incredible stone. So if you get a stone from me, it usually comes sealed. All right, this one is awesome. It'll be in the store soon. I'm like, it's a tug of war for me because it is such a wonderful, lovely stone. It's like, it's just awesome to work with. Anyway, after it's sealed, right, the next thing is lapping. All right, I lap every stone, flat, dead flat. Every Jnat, every hard Jnat that I'm going to be finishing a straight razor on, I lap super flat on an Atoma. First, I do the 140. I don't know if you guys can see the surface. It's a little rougher, right? It's a 140X. That's for decking and pulling off as much material as possible, as quickly as possible. And then I switch to a 400 to finish. And then I have another plate just like this, but much older. Both a 140 and a 400 are on that plate too. But the 400 is super worn, okay? So it doesn't leave marks, all right? Atomas don't come two-sided like this. That's why I carry the pads and the full plate. So if you buy a 400 plate, you could buy a 140 pad, put it on the back. You don't need to do that. It's just I lap every day, it seems like, all the time, lots of stones. It goes fast for me. Most people are fine with just the one plate, the 400. So I'm not trying to like push stuff on you. That's just what I do. So I lap, and people are like, well, you know, how do you make it flat? How do you know when it's flat? Well, I check flatness with a Starrett straight edge. All right, I change these out every few years. So this is a straight edge. I get them on Amazon. They're about, I don't know, $40 or something like that. And they're guaranteed to be within 1/1000th of an inch flat. And I put it on stone, and then I shine a light behind it. And if I see the light from the other side, like I can go like this. Right? If I see light come out, then I know it's not flat. So I lap until I'm flat. This is gold. It is better than a ruler like this, but a ruler like this is better than a ruler like that. This one actually wasn't too bad when I got it, but it's soft aluminum, and every time like I run something on it, it wears it really easily. And either of these are better than like those throwaway dollar ones you get in like, you know, Best Buy or something. So I use a straight edge. People say, oh, you can just draw lines, and then when the lines are gone, it's flat. No, that's not true. It's so not true. I get angry when I read it because it's a starting point, yes, but those lines will wear away long before the stone is flat. Do not rely on grids. Try and send that to tell you your stone is flat, because you don't know how many times I've experienced stones. Oh yeah, I lapped it flat, blah, 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 blah. And it shows up here and it's like freaking bowed, you know? And I'm like, dude, this isn't flat. He goes, well, my ruler says it's, yeah, because his ruler is curved, all right? So there's that. All right, so in the course of lapping, we're making it flat, but I also edge the stone. I chamfer the working edge. This helps keep the very edge of the stone from becoming a problem to the blade. It also helps protect the stone because that 90-degree angle is more fragile than these more obtuse angles that you create with a 45-degree cut. You don't have to get a protractor. You can just make a cut. You can roll it off too, but rolling it will use more stone usually. But to be honest, usually after I'll explain. All right, so I cut, all right, then I try and dress the corners. If I'm really on my game, and like the stone is like definitely for me and it's not ever leaving, before I seal the stone, I will also chamfer this edge and this edge and this edge and this edge, and I will also deck these corners. Then I will seal over that. That's like ridiculous shit that nobody needs to worry about, but that's just for me. I have a couple of stones I've done that too, and that's really the way people in Japan who like get all zen like with their stones do. Because these 90-degree angles can be precarious. A lot of saw marks on the side can also present areas where the stone can bump, and fissures are easy because that little tiny point, it's like a knife edge. It's fragile. So a little fissure can become a big fissure. So again, if it's my stone and I'm going to deck these corners, I will also look towards decking the sides. Again, that's me. It's not really something everybody's got to worry about. Okay? I don't do it for stones I'm selling because, I mean, how much time can I spend on the stone? I mean, I have to charge for my time. Forget about it. I'll be doing it. It takes like, sometimes to take these off, it's like a complete lapping session just on one side. depending on the saw that was used. Anyway, so for general purpose stuff, trying to hit you with all the info, but sometimes I go back and forth. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I got the edges chamfered, I get the corners docked, okay, and I make sure this is flat. Then that's good. Okay. Now, stone's ready to hone. I go honing. I hone, I hone, I hone, I hone, I hone, I hone, I hone some more, and I keep honing, and I hone until the sun goes down, the sun comes up, and days and seasons pass, and I keep honing. But anyway, at some point I got to put the stone away. So what do? Now when I'm honing, stone sits on a rubber block. I have these channels where swarf and slurry can run off and doesn't build up as much, and that's just my thing. So that's when I'm honing, but now I'm done. What do? So I have my stone, I run it on the water, I clear it, I clear it, I clear it. Sometimes I go the extra mile and clean off all sides. Why? Because you really do want the stone to be clear. Anything that remains on the sides and the edges could, during another honing session, wind up back on the stone. It could happen. I like to remove variables, so I'm usually a little cleaner than one might think I need to be. Do I have empirical evidence to prove that some slurry on the side got on the stone and destroyed an edge? No. It's logical, practical reasoning based on sensible conjecture. There are people who get annoyed at that shit, and I don't know why. I've actually had slurry get contaminated, but that's another story. It happened with a diamond plate. Another story. So, stone's wet. Now what? How do I dry it? What do I put it in front of the air conditioner? Do I get a fan and blow air on it? Do I pat it down with paper towel? No to the paper towel, because you can leave paper fibers on top, same with a cloth, and then it dries, then you have to take that off. So like that's a waste of time. Basically what I do, I dry everything on one of these, and I dry everything like this, right, on its edge. See these channels? These channels lead to edge channels, and the water goes there. Doesn't build up. Sometimes I move it, sometimes I'll dry it off a little bit, but you know, basically if you rinse it and then you drip it off a little bit, you're not going to have a tremendous amount of water here. So you can fit a bunch of things on here. You know, if you had stones out, 3, 4, 5 stones fit here easily. I think the max is like 8 or 9 or something like that if you're using Shapton Pros. Anyway, why do I dry like this? So the water runs off and doesn't want to soak into the stone. I use gravity. Wouldn't it be better to dry like this? Yeah, but that's a pain in the ass. So I just do it this way. Been doing it that way forever. That's how I dry my synths too. And I'm convinced that's why I didn't have so much trouble with Choceras when they started to craze, although some of them crazed anyway. But like my Snow White didn't craze when other people's are crazing. And I think it has a lot to do with how I dry it, you know. Yeah, so I got this. It's made out of silicone. I have them in the store. I bought a bunch of them, and I put a few up for sale. It's not something I'm going to carry. I just had to buy a bunch to get the ones I wanted. So there's that. You know, long-term storage. I hone every day, so if I had one stone, it would get used every day, but I have a bunch of stones, so I have like a cabinet, and in the cabinet there are little individual compartmental boxes that the stones sit in. That stops them from banging into each other because I want to protect them a little bit. And you pull the drawer, stuff moves, inertia, get it? So I don't want to bang. That's for me. I have furniture dedicated to stones. It's furniture, but so I store my stuff in there. But I also keep stuff out on my bench, right? So if I keep stuff out on my bench, I'll throw a piece of paper towel over it. Why? I don't want dust building up on it. If I had one stone and I wasn't going to hone all the time, and if I left it out uncovered, dust would build up. Now, dust isn't just dust. It brings with it all types of crap. And you could create like a residue. Ever touch something that's been dusty for like forever, almost feels like greasy? You don't want that on your stone. All right? So keep it clean. You could turn it upside down if you want to. If you have one of those Japanese boxes that stone comes in, you could keep it in that. Keep it out of harm's way. All right, but like this. This is for knives for the most part, although I will do some razors on it so the surface You know, the sealing happens, the dressing happens, everything is the same. I do the same thing with the corners and what have you, except that because this is predominantly for knives, I'm not inclined to make it dead flat because I don't have to. Plus, it's a soft wash heater. It's going to wear a little bit. Harder ones won't dish. Arcs are less prone to dishing, but this one would dish a little bit, so I'd have to stay up on it, but I don't go crazy. Because for cutlery, I don't need dead flat. Straight razors, that edge is on my face. I need like perfectly even to create perfect smooth. See, that's the way that goes. A lot of smoothness happens like at the bevel set stage. People worried about finishers. If your bevel is like on point, it's really hard to not make a smooth edge at finishing stage unless you're relying on too many strokes or too many strokes on a synth. Anyway, off topic. Back to stones. Taking care of them. Washita, after I'm done, there'll be swarf. I'll lap it off. We'll use fresh oil to clean it up and get as much swarf off as possible. Wash down with Dawn and brush. So when I put it away, it's ready to go the next day. So that's how I treat arcs, you know. That's a really great stone, that one. Anyway, so that, right? So if you have boxes, you know, I have box stones and boxes too. Boxes are great. And you can leave this out and stone is protected. And if you get water splashes on, it's probably okay. It's not sealed, so water could creep in, but chances are, unless you like threw it in a fish tank, you'd be good. And if I open this box was made by David. He's a Coticule enthusiast, amongst other things. So he had this Coticule, and he's also a great box maker and a great honer and a wealth of information. I'm not trying to say he is only an enthusiast of Coticules. I said that to make a point because, like, look at what he did here, right? So, little custom nested stone cavities. Like, how cool is that? Now, this is great. You drop it, it's probably going to protect the stone. If it wasn't in these little cutouts, then it could slap back and forth. This is ideal. Almost perfect, actually. Here's the other side of the stone. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful, right? One of the most beautiful Coticules I've ever seen. Anyway, and I enhanced his box. I put some flush-mounted rare earth magnets. So, see, just in case this is open and I pick it up, the lid isn't going to let go. That's my neuroses. Anyway, so boxes like this can be good. If you have those skills or you know somebody who can do it for you, then that's great. Something to consider. Now, synthetics, here, it'd be easier for me to do it this way. Here's my synthetics. I try and just position. As you can imagine, this is like a pretty big box. It's 10 by 10. And my stones don't come all the way to the end, so I can go in here and I can lift one out. These rubber pads are for separating. I use them to mark what I'm working or haven't worked with. This is a set of Shapton Pros. Goes from 120 to 12K. You'll notice the 2K and the 30K aren't here because I have no need for them. Although I'm thinking of putting the 2K back. I only borrowed the 30K. It's a lot of money for that stone, and I will like almost never use it. So it doesn't make sense. And these are my glass stones, and I'm going to add to this. So there's going to be some more coming in here. This set starts at 320, then 500, 1K, 4K. That's the, what is that, the HR? I forget what the names are at this point. What's that, the gray version? And then I have a 10K, which is very, very nice stone. And the bottom of the box is, I don't know if you can see in there. See the orange? That's silicone sheeting. So if I drop the stone in, like you just saw me do, right, it's on rubber, not hardwood. This is oak. Had this made on Etsy. If I remember, I'll add the guy's link. If I didn't add the guy's link, just make a post asking me about it, and I will add it or send it to you or something. I don't know. Stones that I'm in the middle of testing, like this stuff from, well, this is Jonathan Coe stones. This is a set of strips cut for some sharpening system that I don't own, but I got these inexpensively. So this is like a Dota Creek, and then a Gray, and then a Bethesda or something. So literally, these are just out. Okay, these are going through like mad testing. They're wet like every day, every other day, back and forth, back and forth. All I do is I just throw them out on my bench like this to minimize the surface area. Sometimes I turn them upside down. There's no love for this. There's no uber care for it, but I'm just showing you this because and saying and telling you what I'm doing, because like as much as I'm telling you all this good stuff, I also just treat some stuff like, yeah, whatever, right? So that's a yeah, whatever thing. There'll be a video on them at some point, just like the Canadian Novaculite. Now, here's a box from a manufacturer. This is a super sweet box. Comes with, you know, ARC is in here, and it's in this like little rubber silicone thing. Those X's just mean it's the back. And that nests nicely in here. So this is like a really nice setup. I had to build up in here with some leather to stop the stone from banging around too much. It doesn't bang around at all anymore. Anyway, this is very protective. This keeps stones very clean. This is, however, a little bulky to me. And because I have so many stones, if everyone was in a box, they would need their own room. Well, they do have their own room, but you know what I mean. And I keep this because it was a gift, and this came from Oscar at RH Prater, and it's in one of the videos that will be released before the end of the year. So wonderful, wonderful. This is their so-called surgical black. Super, super finishing stone. Love it. Just love it. Anyway, so there's that. Now, when I travel with some gear. So, as you can see, this box here, this is, I love to repurpose stuff. This is an old Starrett micrometer box, all right? And in it, I keep my travel Jnats set. So I have this Karasui Nakayama. I have a very nice Okudo Renge, I think Hansweeter. Piece of Tenju, Asano, not stamped anymore, of course, because I cut it off of a stamp stone to fit. They used to fit perfectly, but through use they wear. There's a piece of Majiro. You notice there's no Botan because, again, when I'm on vacation, I'm with my wife and we're out enjoying, you know, the outdoors. Not really like going crazy on honing. But I may do something in the future to allow me to at least have that safety net there. And then I have 3 incredible Tomo Naguras. This was cut from one of my favorite Tomos. It's just wonderful piece of Namito. Then this is a piece of Shobu that's very nice also. And this actually is a piece of this stone. This was cut off the end. There was a really bad pocket of noise that I had to get rid of. Oh, I put my little thing. I put it on the stone too. Anyways, and again, this is lined with silicone. So you'll see that there's not too much room for stuff to move around. If there's going to be a bump or a jar, the stone isn't traveling too far. When it does hit, there's some cushion. I wouldn't go throwing this around the room, but, you know, not too much movement, all right? So anyway, that's my travel kit, you know. Really, you know, that's it. You know, people want to take this to like the 9s and get really like in depth with stuff. Like I have this slurry stone out. It's like I don't ever do anything. When I go to use it, I just kind of like literally, here's my shirt. I wipe it off on my shirt. And I might wet it down and then wipe it off and then wet it again. But, you know, that's kind of it, you know. I guess I'll end the video here. I'll put this guy on camera because he's so pretty. Really is. This is a, well, it's Latinus, but It's a different type. It's like a painted type as opposed to that heavily marbled type, you know, that you usually see, or people usually refer to. This is very rare. I got Maurice actually sold me this. I asked him, I needed a piece of really special Les Latinuses, and sent me this, and it's just wicked. This is also Les Latinuses. This is a different type. This is actually more of that marbled type. Makes for a beautiful two-sided combo slurry stone. So it's exceptional. Anyway, so listen, about taking care of your stones, right? It's all about common sense. You want to keep it flat. You want to check to make sure it's flat. You want to never assume anything. Always check. You want to check with the best tools possible. If you bought a $200, $300, $400, $500 stone, why would you not want to buy a quality straight edge? You know, you can get one of these, and this will suffice for most people. And yeah, they cost like, I don't know, $5 or $6 or something. You know, and people are like, oh, I don't want to spend too much money. It's like, well, then I don't know. Maybe you just don't want to spend too much of your time. Waste too much of your time. It's like, it's either flat or it's not, and flat's going to be better for you. So I make sure it's flat. I check. I use good tools to make sure. I don't rely on the forum-based, oh, just lap off grids. That doesn't work. Make sure that all of my edges are dressed. My corners are docked, clipped. So I reduced any possibility of clipping it and creating a fissure. Now, mind you, if you bang it, you can still do that. It's just that if there's a point there, it's going to be easier to create that fissure. So there's that. Here's a nice orange dye made out of Bakelite. Came from Poland. I was going to make a brush out of it. I still may, but for right now, I don't know. I think I'm just going to leave it on my bench. I don't need to make. I have a knot for it already. Here's a knot. See, I'm going to put that knot like right in there. And a nice little tube end. And now that I'm saying it and I'm looking at it, I'm like, damn, that's going to be one sweet ass brush. But anyway, he's sitting out there. So anyway, I keep them clean. I dry them correctly. I don't dry them too fast. And that's another thing. When I dry them on the side, I don't put them by a window. I don't put them by a fan. I just let them drip dry. The reason being is fast egress of water can change the dimension of the stone a little bit. And you're like, well, it's a stone. How does the dimension change? Have you ever seen the Grand Canyon? That's what water can do to stone. Now, you're not going to create a canyon in your stone. But if this gets wet, it swells. And when it gets dry, it goes back to whatever shape it wants to. So you have this like inflation, deflation. That causes internal stresses. The slower that process of removing the water is, basically, kind of the better off you are. You don't want the water sitting in there forever either. So it's like you need something in the middle. It's like middle ground is what you want, all right? So it's not just slowest. It's a matter of sensible, all right? And you keep it clean. Keep it away. Don't put it in the window. You know, don't go walking around with it in your pocket. Don't try flipping it when you're walking down the hallway. Just treat it with respect. It'll respect you. Keep it clean, wipe it off, keep it dry. Don't put it away until it's dry. If you have a synth and it's a soaker, those things can take like a week to dry out. If you put it away wet, it'll create mold. That sucks, and your stone is ruined. You know, as far as different fluids go, Jnats, I stick to water. People are like, can I put oil on it? You can do anything you want. It's your stone, but you'll probably screw your stone up. Once oil is in, you're not getting it out. If you use glycerin, it can get in, and then it holds on to moisture, and that can create problems down the road. By far and large, people use water on them. It's been like for centuries, people have been using water on them. There's always got to be someone who needs his own thing that he's got to like put his name on for his ego. Don't be that person, okay? This is a good time to just kind of like follow the leader, you know, use some water on it. Synthetics, same story. You can actually put oil on a synthetic stone if you want to. I wouldn't want to. I don't have a need to. I always ask myself, what would the purpose of that be? What am I trying to gain? People are like, oh, I want a finer stone. Then just buy a finer stone. Hey, yeah. It's like, I want a 4K to be a 12K. No, it's not going to happen. You're going to put oil on a 4K, and you're lucky if you see anything like better than what a 4K can do, and then it's slurrying. Everything's going to be a mess. Again, if somebody sells a stone as a water stone, use it as a water stone. If the manufacturer says you can't put oil on it, ask yourself why you should do that. Like, what purpose are you serving? You know, You're just doing it to do it, fine. Just, be sure you understand that you're probably going to want to buy another 4K at the end of the day. I don't know what else to tell you. That's it. That's how I take care of my stones. That box I showed you of Synths over there, it's not covered. They're just out. They're on this side. Sometimes I put stuff on top of it. I always make sure I clean my stones off before I go to work, just to make sure I don't have surface contamination. In between stones, I wipe everything on the stone. I rinse them off and I put them to dry, and I move to the next stone. And not that this has anything to do with the stone exactly. All right. I rinse and wipe the blade with paper towel once or twice, just to make sure. You'll see the first wipe, usually if you're using like a 1K, on the first wipe, you'll see a bunch of swarf come off. Re-rinse and use a different part of the paper towel and wipe, and it should be clear. If not, do it again, because the swarf from the blade will get into the slurry on the next stone, and it'll give you a headache. Yeah, it will. It can happen to me. So, and I always wipe off with paper towel and not like rags or anything, because rags leave these little cloth fibers that can literally chip your blade. Okay, these little tiny micro bits of fiber can get in the slurry and they can chip your blade, whereas paper towel doesn't do that. Anyway, so back to the penguins. They've been going and coming now for like way too long. I guess I just can't end the story. Anyway, so that's it. Listen, keep it fun. Always have fun. Honing, shaving, wet shaving, this stuff. It's all about having fun. It's about having a great shave and enjoying it, and just keep it there and you'll be happy. All right, take care. Talk to you soon.